which I've been taking my own advice. So don't nail me to the cross. I've been taking my own advice. If you get the unction that somebody around you is talking crap about you and ain't your friend, or even this the friendship just expired, you're not wrong. And they probably talking crap about you right now. And they probably judging your relationship situation. They probably judging how you spending money. They probably judging what you doing right now. They probably judging what you got on. They probably judging what you watching. They judging everything about you right now. You're welcome. What's up, y'all? So, look, let me just go ahead and keep it short with you. Did you know that as of 2024, the United States has a literacy problem? 21% of adults cannot read, and 54% of them have been recorded and it has been documented read below a sixth grade level. That is a catastrophe. But that's where I step in. Now, I'm not going to teach the grown folks how to read and write. However, PSA, the Ghostwriting Solution, has now a new package. It's called the Literacy Liftoff, and it caters to 9th through 12th graders who struggle with reading, writing, and comprehension. This new tutoring service will offer vocabulary skills, teaching students how to literally write from the bottom, literally teaching them how to do an introduction paragraph, how to do a hook, how to do a conclusion, how to add a little razzle dazzle, and how to add their own personal touch to it. Okay. Now, you know what you're saying. Well, Izzy, that's what they go to school for. Absolutely. But as an ex-teacher, the teachers just don't have time. So this program has 3 different packages from 3 different sets of hours that you can take. So if you're an AP, a principal, the student who needs help, the parent of the student, or you just know somebody who needs the help. If you're in the Houston area, you can get in-person tutorials. But if you are not in Houston, there are also virtual options offered as well. So hit me up at my email, theprodigyperspective@gmail.com, and or psathepodcast.com, and we will hook you up. What's going on, good people, young people, old people, middle-aged? What is going on? We are back yet again for another PSA, the Mental Health Podcast. And yeah, we're back for another episode. Are you excited? I'm excited. I'm excited. And today's episode, this is track 4. So as we saw with last 2 weeks, shout out again to Dr. Jenny Ketchum Crooks, because like I stated, it had to be 2 parts because it was too long just to do one big episode. And I just knew, like, I always can just tell, like, I'm like, yeah, this one going to be, when I hit like the round, I just could just tell the way the conversation was flowing and going. I was just like, yeah, this is going to be 2 parts. So that was good. Like I said, it worked out. It was great. She's great. And I'm going to have an update on me doing her book. I haven't bought it yet, but I am going to implement the strategies. I got off one 25-day thing, which I'll be giving my revelation on that, or not revelation and testimony on that sooner than later. But this one I'm going to start doing. At the time this is recorded, so this episode actually drops next Thursday. So when you see it, I'm recording it the Friday before. And by Monday, so this coming Monday, which is the Monday before the episode drops, I'm looking to hopefully start the next thing, but we just gonna see. But anyway, I don't want to get too far off or get too off topic today and just rambling, because that's more so for the live stream that we have that. But this one is kind of concise in the time limit. So we're in the next track, which is As a Man, Why Are You So Easily Offended? Which goes right into this week's meme, which I just read it and said it. As a man, why are you so easily offended? Inspirations for this week comes from a quote by Jessica Hoddle, and it says, which I actually be reading something from an article she did later on. It says, offense and forgiveness go hand in hand. You cancel the debt and you think the debt the other person owes you for the. It says offense and forgiveness go hand in hand. You cancel the debt, you think the debt you think the other person owes you for the pain they caused. Okay, so let's get into that, and then we're gonna just kind of go into that and then go to a lot to cover. A lot that we're going to go over today. So, as always, I got a quick little rant and I want to get into everyone's favorite ranting hour, which is happy hour. Now, when we talk about happy hour today, there's a few things I want to talk about. I want to talk about middle finger pictures. Now, I've talked about this before, but I'm going to nail you in the cross a little more with this episode because I just feel like with the middle fingers, right? I said before, if you're not a rapper, a YouTuber, or you're under the age of 25, it's kind of like, why are we still doing that? I get you mad at the world, and this is your, rebellion to the world, like F the world, I get it. I get all that. That's great, right? It's time to let that go. And it's time to let that go because it's just like, now, let's, like I said, you 26 throwing them, and then now you a famous YouTuber, or you on the rise as a YouTuber. You know what I'm saying? Okay, rapper, cool. But like I said, just a regular person, I just don't think that we need to be doing that. I just because it's just not, a good look. It's like you want somebody to be feel a way about. I don't know. I don't know. I think we let that go on. People say, well, that ain't got nothing to do with you. It does have something to do with me because if I have a community of people and they're young men, and especially a lot of y'all are professionals and get it that we live in a world now that's different than back our parents' day, where it was like don't be doing stuff. See, in today's world, people like to see people who can do both. They like to see that you work a corporate job and see you with a tie on your head and your shirt off at the club on Saturday versus you did that in secret back in the day. In today's world, we like to see that. That one TikTok that was going viral, it was like who you think you talking to at work and who versus who you really talking to. So I get that aspect, right? And it ain't even because of what people gonna think, but it is just kind of like it's very childish, and it's just like after a certain age, like I said, there's a graceful, and after a certain age, it's like what we doing, Just keep that in mind. But this goes to the next topic when it comes into the next thing I want to talk about today, or rant about, which is social media personas. What used to piss me off back in the day? When people used to be like, not a celebrity bone in their body, not an it factor anywhere in sight, not a piece of a star. And they would put on their Instagrams and like Twitters, like the official, and I'm making up a name, the official Eric McIntosh, or the real Jessica Jackson, or what's another one they do? And it's like, you official at what? Pretending? Or you the real what? Who the fake one? And nobody know you. That used to blow me because I'm like, and then it's crazy because, like I said, I don't know everyone who did this. So before anybody try to attack me, but the people I knew that had that, they is cops and regular people now. So it's like, and they didn't have no social media following at all. So it was just kind of one of those grind my gears moment, pet peeve moments. And it's stupid. I mean, it's a little funny, but it's just kind of like, what you doing? Like, what's the point of that? Like, it makes sense if you was an influencer, like for real, not one just say you are one just to say one, like you a legit one, like, what I'm saying, you have a big following these platforms. But and that, again, that's only I guess you could say a attack on the people who didn't have them numbers. It was different if you actually had the numbers of community. That's different. But for the people that didn't, it's like, it's kind of lame, my guy or my girl. All right. All right, so that's a little quick rant today, nothing major, because I really want to get into what we're talking about today. And in today's episode, we're talking about people being easily offended. Now, both of those topics kind of center around the topic, or they align with what we're talking about today. With people who are easily offended, and again, as a man, I don't feel like men should be easily offended. But the video we're going to watch is going to actually get into. We only got one video today. When we get to the case study, we'll get to that in a second. it breaks down something and it makes you look at things a little differently. So we're gonna get to that in a minute. But before we get into that, I want to go over what else I want to go over. I want to go over this now or later. Let's see. I think we're gonna go over it later. I'm trying to see what I want to do. One more thing, what I want to do. Let's just get into the case study right now. So let's get into everyone's favorite, and I said about everything, but the case study. Now, for this first part, I want to talk about a Justin LeBoy post that I saw. You know, he has some ones that really make you talk. Really, all of them do, but it's one in particular I really think was real good. So let's get into that. And the post reads, let's go. And the post reads, your feelings are always valid. Your behavior is not. It's okay to feel what you feel, but you need to be accountable for what you do as a result of those feelings. So let's talk about that. I want to kind of break that down while we're here before we get into this week's video that I'm going to pick apart. So, first of all, that's the thing. One of your feelings a lot to you. Psychology tell you that. The Bible will say the heart is deceitful, the heart is wicked. So, and you could have taken things wrong. Sometimes what happens is people get offended. Again, I believe by the messenger. They may say, I don't like this person. I secretly don't like this person. I blatantly don't like this person. Or I just don't want to hear it from them. So they instantly build up a wall. Or to the person, it may come off like you're ignoring how they feel about something. And it's like, you can feel that way, but it's all about having a conversation. One thing that people have a bad habit of doing with me, when they feel away, they try to like say it in a group setting. And so my reaction, which may not be the best, but my reaction is I just shut down, because at this point, in my opinion, you're trying to put on the scene. And so it looks like, oh, he don't care about nobody. But in reality, you're trying to put on the show, and I'm not engaging with the show because I'm not getting a check for that. Okay? I'm not getting a check for that. So I'm not about to sit here and go back and forth with you because you want a show, like you trying to embarrass me and trying to put me on blast. I'm not engaging with that. You now, if you would have came to me alone and said, hey, you know, I felt this way about this. But a lot of times people lash out about stuff. I had one scenario where I had a friend years ago where I had another friend and they weren't cool. And this friend told me, like, I don't know why this person commenting on my stories and saying these things, like, I don't like her like that, like she cool, woo woo. But mind you, I was cool with the other person. So me and this other person and some other people, we went out to eat and was hanging out and stuff. And the same friend who was like, didn't like the other person, knew I was out with them. And she was just like, well, I seen y'all was out. Why ain't you call me? You ain't invite me to go. And I'm like, and before I even said anything, she blew up and had a whole meltdown and was like, you act like your other friends can't mix with each other. And you act like people can't, you be trying to play favoritism and just going off about me not inviting her to go eat. But I got invited to go eat with the person you said, I don't know why she's trying to hang out with me. I don't like her like that. So why would I invite you? And a lot of times with the feelings things too, with, like I just said, your feelings a lot to you. You forgot, maybe you forgot you said that, or I don't know. But a lot of times too, I feel like in them kind of situations, people really don't want to go. They just be having FOMO and they just want the invite, which I think is lame. And I might get into that later. But you just said you didn't want to be around the person. So why would I invite you if I'm with them and I know you don't like them? And I'm just like, y'all want too much. And so when I make that comment, oh, y'all want too much. Oh, he just the only child. He don't care about nobody. He just a terrible person. But then they keep coming back. So that's what just blows my mind, because it's like, if that's how you feel, I tell people all the time, you can tell how you feel, but you need to be accountable for what you did. And a lot of times when you try to hold people accountable, not trying to go there and be sexist, but a lot of times we're trying to hold women accountable, is never a full accountable. They never fully take accountability. But as we talking about men, which I know some men that's like that too, unacceptable. Unacceptable. I will cut you off as a man if you do not take accountability. I said it before, I said it again. I'd rather you be like, I was wrong and I don't care, versus, no, I ain't do that and you did. So end off with Justin LeBoy's great post. Again, what you do as a response to those feelings is what makes you is what makes people now listen to you. That's what makes people now listen. And so somebody needs to hear it today. The reason people not listening to you and how you feel about a situation is because of how you going about it. If you being dramatic, if you being extreme, if you being irate, understand that's how it is. Okay. All right. All right. Now, let's get into today's video. It's a good one. Obviously, we're going to listen to the whole thing. But like last time, I broke it up into two different tabs because it seemed to work pretty effectively. So I'm going to share my screen and we got to get started with offense. All right. And it's talking about what is just a few things of what is kind of rooted in and things like that. So let's get into the first clip for the day.
Why do you get offended? You get offended because of your ego. The ego is your idea of yourself. Your idea of yourself has plenty of different other ideas associated with it. It's like a character in a play. So if you have an idea of yourself, which we all do, Dave, Tom, Oliver, Emma, these are just characters. And in certain character sheets, we have dietary choices, we have nationality, we have age group, we have so many different associations, which we mistakenly believe and take to be who we truly are. We are not any idea. However, when someone challenges our idea of ourselves, because we think we are that idea, we think that who we truly are is under threat. So we go into fight or flight defense mode. We attack, we defend, we blame, we judge, we criticize, we do anything to take the attention and the assault away because we think we're really threatened, which is not the case at any given time, because who you really are is way vaster than any idea you've just forgotten. Now,
all right, so let's break down and go into before we go to the next part. So, ego. I learned that today. Offense is rooted in ego, which I actually seen a video one time that was talking about that offense was rooted in pride. So those are kind of similar, I guess adjectives or, ideologies, being prideful and having a big ego, because you're rooted in, like he said, your thought of yourself. And so when somebody challenges who you think you are, like I knew somebody that would get offended when someone said that they was stink acting. They were like, I'm not stink acting. I'm like, you are. And no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And I'm like, yes, you are. And they just really got defensive about it because in their mind, they didn't see themselves that way. They see themselves as this jolly green giant. And although that was true at times, that wasn't always the case. And so it feels like a personal attack, and that's why they were so defensive. And so that's why you might be so defensive, because you think somebody's trying to tell you this is who you are. Because sometimes people can misinterpret things that you did, because that is also a case, flipping, other side of the ball. But in the same breath, maybe they're letting you know the same thing, especially if you heard something more than once. You have to question, like I say all the time. Just because everybody's saying it don't mean it's true. But there's a reason why they're saying that. So keep that in mind. Now let's go to the second part. And this part is a little longer, but it's still from the same video. All right. How he stopped getting offended. And this is by Oliver Cowlishaw.
This and integrating this truth into your life, you start to see just how true this really is. So if someone's responding to you and reacting to you harshly and angrily for something you've done, it's not unlikely that something has happened like that to them in the past that caused them pain and they're defending against it now. But of course, you wouldn't know that. So there's so much about a person's life and about who someone is, what character they're playing, that you don't know. And when you yield and surrender to this truth and realize that it's not about you, you allow someone to be as they are without judging them and without judging yourself and creating a situation where there need not be one. And number two, I got to know myself. I got to really know myself. I inquired as to who this self supposedly was that's getting so offended and why. See, it's much easier to blame others. It's much easier when someone offends us to talk and bitch about the person who is offending us as if they're in the wrong always. It's so easy to do that, but to actually draw our attention to ourselves and ask ourselves the questions as to why we're being offended and take responsibility for our emotional states and our responses to other people, it's way harder to do that. Way harder. It's much easier.
All right. So again, if you want to watch the whole video, you can go look it up on your own time. But as always, it'll be in the description. But again, we're so quick as a people to point the blame, and we're so quick to point the finger and say you were this, you this, that. And a lot of times, the main people who are quick to point the finger are the main ones who will be cringe up and get it, are the most offended when someone points the finger at them, because it's okay. Sometimes you was wrong too. Sometimes you were in error. You know what I mean? It ain't everybody just picking on you. Sometimes people let you know stuff in love. And I'm the type of person, because how I was raised was you rather hear it at home than in the streets. So a lot of times I be trying to tell people like, oh, you know, and and even how I think about stuff. Say if Trophy, an index card, was making a comment about you, and I'm more closer to you, and I agree with what Trophy and Index Card is saying about you, I'm gonna come to you and kind of say it to you like you do this without telling you like somebody said it. Because if I tell you who said it, I gotta say who said it. I'm not playing them games of, oh, I heard, I can't say who. Because at this point in my life, and this is a message for anybody out there, if you come to me and tell me somebody said something about me, but you're not gonna say who said it, just know that'll be your last conversation you have with me. We're gonna dead that real quick. But in that case, that's my way of telling you what's being said without saying a name. And then, especially if I agree with it, like, you know, I've heard, again, saying, going to one friend before, I was like, you know, they was looking stank and they be acting stank, and that people were saying that. And I've noticed this. I'm like, you know, sometimes you come off a little stank. And no, I don't. No, I don't. And I'm like, are you okay? And then, you know, they just, when the offense comes in, they feel like they're being attacked. And now there's like, in their mind, somebody's standing over them in the corner and they fighting for their life. And it's like, it's not even that deep. But when people struggle with offense and ego, that's the kind of stuff that happens. And like I said today, you learn offense is rooted in ego. You probably never even thought of that. But you learn something new every day. All right, y'all. As always, I'm by myself again after 2 long weeks with a guest. So now let's jump into the one QT&A, questions that need addressing. So let's get into the first question for today. So the first question: have I been easily offended? 100%. A person like me, my whole life, I have been picked at. Like, there are times when I do feel like, not feel, no, I've intentionally been picked at. I've intentionally, people have been like, at me. Like, I know for a fact, not even feeling. Are there times where I've just been sensitive? 100%. But there are times, like I said, I've known people pick, right? And yeah, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay, the next one. Who is the most offended? Ain't nobody more offended than them people on social media who them people on social media that be praying for people. Now let me explain. So you know how, like, on social media there's the people who like okay. You know how on social media there's the people who be praying for people. Like, they'll be like, send this prayer to like 4 or 5 people. And all of them aren't like this, but it's some people who do that, and they're some of the most offended people. And now this isn't saying we don't all struggle with something, and not saying, well, you're attacking they struggle and you making them, you know, they in their transition. That's not what I'm saying. But these are the people who, like, you'll be listening to them in real life and be like, is this the same person praying for people on Instagram? Like, I don't know if I want them prayers, because you something else. And they're the most offended, or should I say offended, or the most offensive? Maybe that's what I should say. Maybe that's what I should say. But again, I get everybody has a transition period. This is not the judgment to the people who in the club one day and then praying the next day, or in the having sex one day and then at church the next day. Because again, everybody has their period, and no one just transforms all at once. But what I'm saying is, a lot of times those people aren't, not all of them. Let me throw it out there. But because if you get offended, then I'm talking about you, because it ain't everybody. But it be some people, I just be like, is this the person that prays for people on Instagram? No, not you. No, not you. I'm like, you are so nasty in real life. And it's just like, when people, and this goes back to the middle finger thing earlier, people get offended when you call them out. That spirit in them get offended when you call them out because you're sitting up here getting offended by the truth. And that also rooted in you care what people think about you to an extent. And you should care to an extent, but not to the point where it keeps you in bondage. And I feel like I'm rambling, but I say all that to say those people can be the most offensive. I think that's a better word to use. And you're not offending nobody with your prayer because that's needed. But it's just like people's social media personas and then in real life ain't the same. And that's one thing I strive to do. And anybody who thinks otherwise, please comment on this video and tell me that I'm wrong. And tell me how. And tell me how. Don't say you're wrong and then be like, so how? And then don't have nothing to say. Tell me how. I want you to tell me now. My goal is to be the same person on and offline. And I think a lot of times with these social media personas, and this is going, I hope this goes out, and I hope you get offended, because if you do get offended, that means deep down you know I'm right and that things need to change. And that if you go towards that, then no one can hold it against you. But a lot of y'all don't be the same person offline as you do online. I really be looking at some people like, this can't be the same person. It can't be. Somebody might say, well, they ain't got nothing to do with you. It don't, but it do, because I'm holding you accountable. And ultimately, although some of these people with mics take it too far, that's a lot of people's goals to hold people accountable. But I think they just go get so caught up in trying to hold other people accountable, they don't hold themselves accountable. So again, I want y'all to hold me accountable. Let me know if you feel like I'm a different person on and offline. Because I've actually met people who've met me online and they was like, you worse online than in real life. Which I take that. That's better than you worse in real life than online. Like people say online, in real life, you really be like chilling. I'm not really a chill person, but versus online. But remember, these personas are amplified version of who a person is. Sometimes I feel like a lot of these podcasters and podcasts are like their intrusive thoughts on camera. You know who else is the most offended? People who you don't tell your business to. Normalize lying about your business. Normalize lying about what's going on. Instead of giving people tea, give them piss. Now, I'm not an advocate for lying, contrary to popular belief, but let me stop. See, now I'm getting offended, right? But I saw a reel today. And in the reel, it was this man and a boy sitting on the couch. He was sitting on the couch with a snake. He was laughing with the snake, showing the snake his phone. And in the video, it said, me being messy with my friend who I know talk crap about me when I'm not around. And it was some people that came to mind when I thought about that in my lifetime. And I even read the comments and everybody like, yeah, this the one, this the one, this the one. And somebody made a comment and said, and then when they get mad at you, when you stop telling them your business. And we have to really get to the root of that trauma, because of some type of trauma, some type of reason. Like, because again, I like to understand why people do things they do. So even for me, why would you be friends with somebody talking about you behind your back? A lot of times, it's what's the word I'm looking for? It is comfort. It is familiarity, because you've known this person for so long. It's just like it would be weird not being around them. But let this be the message to you today, to somebody. Which I've been taking my own advice, so don't nail me to the cross. I've been taking my own advice. If you get the unction that somebody around you is talking crap about you and ain't your friend, or even if the friendship just expired, you're not wrong. And they probably talking crap about you right now. And they probably judging your relationship situation. They probably judging how you spending money. They probably judging what you're doing right now. They probably judging what you got on. They probably judging what you watching. They judging everything about you right now. You're welcome. The next question. What is the obsession with the words diabolical and demure? I don't know where demure came from. That's fairly new. But diabolical, I'm sick of y'all in this word. Now, I don't know if it's the English major in me, the wordsmith in me. I don't know what it is, but y'all be forcing that word. Like, y'all will be like, what do y'all say? Like, somebody told me one day somebody canceled going on a trip, and somebody said him canceling the day before a trip is diabolical. What? You know what? I remember last time when I got on here and I looked up the zodiac sign. Let's look up. I'm gonna give y'all some synonyms for diabolical. Like I said, the more is fairly new, and we're gonna get into that too. But I'm going to give y'all synonyms for diabolical. Because first of all, let's look up the meaning of it too. And then I'm gonna give y'all a synonym in the sentence. And for demure. All right, so let's look it up. All right, here we go. Share the screen. Come on, Tech. There we go. All right, diabolical. The characteristic of the devil or so evil as to be suggested of the devil. Synonyms include similar words: devilish, diabolic, fiendish, satanic, Mephistophelian. Mephistophelian sound like Memphis, a diabolical, demonic, demon, hellish, infernal, evil, wicked, ungodly, unholy. Okay, so it's another one on here I think is nefarious. That's the one I was using. So those are some synonyms for diabolical. So moving forward, we're going to stop using diabolical. Okay, now while we're here, let's look up and define demure. Let's see. Reserved, modest, and shy, typically used of a woman. So similar words include modest, unassuming, meek, mild, reserved, retiring, quiet, shy, bashful. Okay, so here's some words y'all can use. So reserved and modest, y'all using demure, and y'all don't be knowing what these words mean. But I just gave y'all some stuff to use. So now you can't say, "Look, Izzy Baker ain't never done nothing for you." Okay? Can't say, "I ain't never done nothing for you." All right. There you go. Let's get some new vocabulary in 2024. Use some of them words in your sentences. They'll be telling everybody how smart you are. See, I'll be helping y'all out. Now, here's another one. Why are people offended when you don't like them? Now, let's talk about that. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is okay not to like people. Even it is okay. I'm 1,000% sure when Jesus was nailed to the cross by the Pharisees, he didn't like them. He loved them, he forgave them, and he asked God to, forgive them for they know not what they do. But I'm sure he didn't like them. And I'm sure there are many people in the Bible who didn't like people. And that's okay. It's hatred is the problem. It's, unforgiveness that's the problem. Because you don't like everybody. That's why when some people get offended when people don't like them, it's like, but you don't even like everybody. So why would you want everybody to like you? But a lot of people think they're more likable than they actually are. That's what it is. There we go. A lot of people think they're more likable than they are. And they think that their bad traits and habits are justified in reality. And even if they are, if someone doesn't know you, how can they justify that? Because even like with me, I know some of y'all don't like me. I don't like a lot of y'all. I don't. I can be cordial. I say what's good, what's up, but a lot of y'all don't like. Okay. Y'all don't like me either. And then the same people go out their way to speak to me, and I know they don't like me. And I be like, because see me and my homeboy Day got on me, and I hope you see this. And he was like, I remember we was at an event. I was like, them look like people I know, but I ain't speaking first. So to him, it sounded like I was just being douche. So he was like, man, get on with that Hollywood stuff. You can speak to people first. No. I don't speak to people first because people act like they don't know me. And some of them people be trying to figure out if they like me or not. And some of them don't. So I'm just kind of pulled back. I'll speak if you speak to me. And then sometimes people act like they don't remember me either. So that's another thing too. There's that. Final question. There's been a lot of questions in this one. I really ain't had this many before, or in a while. Probably before. It's been a lot. What offends me? Another personal story. So I was out with some friends one day. One of my homeboys was talking about a mutual friend we have, and he was talking about, this friend, he's such a good friend to me. He called me, he checked on me, he pulled up on me, and and Izzy say he gonna come, but he never do. And he said in a group setting, he said it laughing and jovial and playful, but I did get offended instantly. I did get offended. I got offended because sometimes you get offended because you hear something different than what's being said. Because he was just like, basically saying, I love Izzy, but this guy here, he does this. It was kind of like, one, I don't like being compared to other people. And two, it was kind of like you trying to say like, which something else that I've had issues with people like say like, the brandy almost doesn't count, or like close but no cigar. Like it's like you don't never do enough, and I'd be like, it is like, and it's always like, why do everything that I do right goes unnoticed, but then the stuff that as soon as you do something that ain't the best or wrong, it's a problem. And that's what I thought out all in that moment. And I had to catch myself because I'm like, although you probably do feel that way, if and you hate to even say it like that, but if somebody don't see all of what you do right, that's on them, not you. And you don't need to prove yourself to nobody. But in the same breath, in my opinion, I feel like you could have hyped him up without saying that about me, because it was just like, wasn't that an unnecessary, like the comment to me was still unnecessary, because I'm a firm believer when people do stuff, what was the point of saying that comment? And sometimes people don't think about stuff like that, and I don't think it meant there was any malice behind it, but in the same breath it still was just like, but I was kind of like, but in that instance though, I get it. And like I said, that once I kind of sat and thought about it, I really wasn't mad no more, but in the moment I was kind of like, what was the point of that? But at this point, just so you know, I'm not feeling no way about it now. I didn't feel no way about it for a very long time. I mean, I'm saying I felt the way about it for a minute, but not that long. But I definitely felt, But again, rooted in ego, and you thinking, well, I did this, and this. And it's like people don't be seeing it. So, again, you just have to think that their comments are more rooted in them versus you. And I could say the comment was rooted in that person's blindness versus what I did and or didn't do. So, but even though with that being the case, and we'll get into should people get offended later. So I'm gonna get on that. Now, something I will get offended by, and I don't care, and I don't care, I'm not gonna back down. When somebody say, this look like something you'll wear. And I had a friend tell me, like, she said her sister was like, yeah, your friend Izzy look like he'll wear that. And then I said, I probably wouldn't wear it. She said, nah, it was something you'll wear. And I didn't see it. But it's been times people say I will wear something, and it was some of the most heinous, horrid thing I have ever seen in my life. I was pissed off, and I ain't like it. But yeah, that's funny petty, though. That's not like real petty, but yeah, that blew me. All right. 2 definitions for today. First definition. Don't think it's a church word, but just hear me out. Rebuke. Express sharp disapproval or criticism of someone because of their behavior or actions. Then I got offended. It says resentful or annoyed, typically as a result of a perceived insult. All right, y'all. Now, what does this have to do with mental health? Let's get into the segment. What does this have to do with mental health? All right, so here are 5 ways being easily offended can affect young men. So, impaired relationships, and that goes back to the situation I was describing earlier with me. According to the article, Why People Get So Offended Easily, from Psychology Today, being easily offended often stems from unresolved past traumas or insecurities that cause individuals to misinterpret others' intentions. This can lead to strained relationships, as young men may frequently react negatively to comments or actions that were not intended to harm, creating unnecessary conflict and misunderstanding. So boom, it goes back to what I said earlier, and I just spoke that up. Trauma from the past, then in that comment, and it wasn't even that deep. You know what I mean? And then I took that and internalized it and was mad about it. So that's a good point. That's aligns. Emotional instability. In the article, Why is a Person Easily Offended? The 3 most common reasons from Psychology Spot. It is discussed how easily offended acts as a defense mechanism to protect a fragile ego. This defensiveness can lead to young men to overreact emotionally in situations that remind them of criticisms and humiliations of the past, making it difficult to maintain emotional stability in day-to-day interactions. So again, back doing what we just said. The third one is reduced self-esteem. The Learn in Mind article, How to Stop Being Offended by Everything, highlights how constantly feeling offended can lower self-esteem. When young men are overly sensitive to how others perceive them, they may struggle with self-doubt and require constant external validation, leading to a vicious cycle of low self-worth and increased sensitivity to perceived slights. Now, with that, which is great because next week's episode is about people pleasing. And so some of this stuff kind of bleeds into the next episode, even this early on. We ain't even an hour, 40 minutes in or so. But it's interesting to see that because you're looking for that validation, you go above but not your way. And there were times when I was a people pleaser and I actually cared what people thought about me. It would be times where I would hear negative comments like that, and I would go out my way to try to like get people to see, like, see, I'm not a bad this. So see, look, see, I'm doing this. What about when I did this? And it's like, it's kind of like when they talk about the Bible and in the New Testament, it talks about how they was like they when they was like how people gonna be going to hell or whatever, and there's gonna be people who try to tell God, like, but God, I did this, I cast out demons in your name, and I did this and I did this, and they get caught up in the works and not just doing fully submitted or doing right. And so even in that situation, that those are parallels, because me getting caught up in trying to do things, even though you were doing them right, your mindset and your heart wasn't in the right place because you was doing it with the intention of getting some type of validation versus you doing it with the right spirit. And even though that person might not have noticed that, God is always watching. And I feel like because of that, it's like you only doing this because you want some validation. You're not doing this for the right reason. So I think that's something to keep in mind too. The fourth one is social isolation. According to Madam Nord in their article, Why Some People Are Easily Offended, How It Affects Their Lives, being easily offended can lead to social isolation. When young men frequently take offense, they might push others away either by reacting harshly or being perceived as overly sensitive. This can lead to a reduction in social interactions as peers might avoid engaging to prevent potential conflicts, ultimately increasing feelings of loneliness and isolation. And again, that goes back to the whole logic of, people, I don't need nobody. I'm one deep. I don't need no friends. That's a cry for, I want all that. It's a cry for, you want love. When most people act like that, especially dudes, women too, you want some love and you hurt by people, and now you trying to just push everybody away. Or, oh, I roll one deep. I don't need no friends. I don't need no gang. I am my own gang. I don't need all that. Shut up, crybaby. There's a cry for help with a frown. The last one, perfect timing, hindered personal growth. The article, How Quick Are You to Take Offense? 10 Powerful Remedies from Psychology Today, thoroughly explains that an inability to handle criticism constructively can hinder personal growth. Young men who are easily offended may resist valuable feedback that could help them improve, whether in their personal or professional lives. This defensiveness prevents them from learning and growing, keeping them stuck in unproductive behavior. So, again, I think that a lot of these men, I say unofficially, but a lot of these men grew up without fathers, and it shows. And because a woman don't know how to raise a man, she can't, just can't. And I think the uncles and the stepdads, and I'll say the uncles and the positive male figures are great, but not having a father does a lot. And I think a lot of the men who really are extremely sensitive, they really didn't have no daddy. And we're going to do an episode over there soon, trust and believe. But a lot of people can't take criticism. They just can't take it. They shut down. And somebody, and it might be you, but somebody, you try to like say something to them and instantly just shut it down. It's a defense mechanism. All right, y'all, let's get into the next segment for the day, which is I challenge that. All right, and we know what we're doing here. We challenging some things. So earlier, I kind of briefly discussed, and I said, is it ever okay to be easily offended? Or is it ever okay to be offended? I think it is in certain situations. And I think it aligns or goes along with if there's a situation where, okay, like if you're protecting your core values or reacting to harmful behavior. But I got a point to go with that. So according to Psychology Today, offense can be natural and a valid reaction when encountering disrespect, discrimination, or more violations. It often signals that your boundaries or beliefs have been crossed. It says prompting necessary actions or discussions. So the thing with being offended is, if you get offended in a moment, you're human, right? I think the issue is living in offense. As we saw earlier, I was offended in a moment, which can be justified by some. May say I'm overreacting, some may say it's okay, but I don't live in offense. I'm not still offended at that person. I took it and able to process what they mean, because I also know the person. I know sometimes he just be talking and not saying, you know what I'm saying, and don't always think about how it sounds, and then from where he from too. It's just, so it's a little different. So I'm not living in offense and still mad about it. Like now I can hear it and laugh at it. But I think that, like for instance, talking about discrimination, racial discrimination, I think that that's okay to be offended by. You maybe shouldn't live in offense too, but if someone's being racist, I mean, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, or if you're offended, and this is, I think, is a big one. This is not on the list. I'm big on people. Like, it's one thing if you talk about me, but if you talk about somebody I'm close to, or somebody who don't bother people, or somebody they're going on a witch hunt against somebody who I may follow, and the person is not in the wrong, but the person going on a witch hunt against them is loud and wrong, I might get offended by that because, like, I don't like seeing that. And that's something to definitely talk about. Is that okay to be offended by? Like, if you offended when somebody coming at somebody that you close to, is that justified? That's something to think about. Let me know in the comments. Is that justified to be offended when somebody's going after somebody you care about? Something to think about. Something to think about. I want to know what y'all think. Now, Harvard Business Review suggests that being offended can be an important emotional cue, particularly in situations where integrity or the integrity of others is compromised. It says that it can motivate constructive responses like setting boundaries and or addressing unfair treatment. So I think that's good, because if you're addressing unfair treatment, sometimes that's needed. And I feel like a lot of times people just get offended and then they just go about it. But a lot of times it can be a conversation, because like I said, sometimes people be saying stuff and then realize they wasn't trying to be offensive. Because I hate the phrase when people be like, people know what they be doing. Not always. You think people be knowing. Sometimes they really don't. And I think we need to accept that, because so many people are like, man, people know what they be doing. Now, you rooted in ego. Some people really aren't self-aware. Some people may be aware and didn't think it was that bad. It says, however, it is important to manage how you respond to offense. Being offended in situations that involve clear moral or ethical breaches is valid. But overreacting to minor issues can lead to unnecessary conflict and stress. The key is to assess the situation thoroughly and decide whether the offense truly requires a strong reaction or can be resolved more calmly. All right. Ultimately, like I said earlier, it's a natural response. And that's why I think you really have to take it with God and really pray on and ask God to show you, like, am I overreacting? Of course, if you got a therapist, talk to your therapist. I know everybody don't. I would actually like to go back. I've been twice. And, and the therapist friends, I want y'all to comment on this portion and let me know y'all's take on that too. It is okay if someone don't like you. Now, I said that earlier and I'm going to reiterate. But I think it's weird when you have friends that try to tell you out of frustration. Like some people like me. I know people don't be like me, right? But I've always found it weird how there's some friends and our family that will get frustrated with me and like be like, oh, that's why don't nobody like you. Or they may say stuff like, nobody likes you, right? Or, or question or be surprised when people do like me. Like, oh, they like you. Oh, I didn't think they would like you. Like, I've learned in life, them are the people that really don't like you. So in the whole offended thing and being offended and justified offense, pay attention to those little comments, because people be telling on themselves all the time. Even if they lie and say they ain't mean it like that, they keep saying the same thing they meant. Now let's talk about correction versus healthy rebuke. So rebuke is, going against someone's, correction and healthy rebuke. So not versus, because they're basically the same thing. This is a minor one. Say for instance, you got a friend, they going outside, y'all finna go outside, finna go to brunch, y'all finna go somewhere, and they outfit trash. Like, not even like everybody has their own unique style. Like, it look bad. Like the pants flooded, shirt hugging the titties, and they a dude, they back fat showing, it don't match. It look country bumpkin. And you let them know, like, hey, that's not gonna work. That's a healthy rebuke. That's healthy, because or even like, say for instance, I was talking to somebody about being mad about somebody in that situation earlier. Somebody like, that ain't that serious. You overreact, right? That's healthy. Here's the thing, though. I don't listen to everybody. People say it's rooted in pride, but it's actually not. I go by 3 different stances, okay? This is determined whether or not I listen to somebody. Who is your source? Your accuracy rate, and your expertise in the topic. Okay? So when we talk about your source, who is your source? My source is God, right? If your source is Satan or yourself or that religion you in as a sex cult, I'm not probably gonna limit my time listening to you. I try to pick at least have 2 to 3 things right. Because just because somebody don't believe in God don't mean they can't be right about a situation. But then that's when we go to the next one. Their accuracy rate. A lot of times people don't be right a lot of times and they think they be right. Like I look at how often are you right about a thing? You know, if you're always wrong or you be saying stuff and you think you're right and you're not, I'm not listening to you. And the third one is their expertise in the topic. So many people have given me podcast advice and don't have a podcast. So many people have given me business advice and don't have a business. Some people gave me fashion advice and don't have no fashion. I put on my Instagram story many years ago. I said, y'all be the fashion police with no fashion. Why would I listen to you and everything you got on don't fit right? And you might have got it off a mannequin, and or it just don't look right. You know what I'm saying? Why would I listen to you? Why would I listen to you? Keep that in mind. That's what I'm talking about. And also, when the whole God thing, people are always looking for loopholes in the Bible. But then when you look for, and say for instance, like when they talk about like not smoking weed, or I hope nobody argues this one, but not watching porn, they'll say, well, it doesn't explicitly say that. But say when I'm friends with somebody or cool with somebody and they ask me to do something and I did, or they didn't ask me to do it, it was just kind of like a, you know, so, great example. Here we go. So say for instance, you got a friend that need a ride to the airport. They didn't ask for a ride. They might have said something like, oh, I'm gonna give me a ride to the airport. Well, I'm gonna need to find me one. Or they might just say in casual conversation, like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna get a ride to the airport and call it a day. So they get mad at you because you didn't tell them or offer to take them to the airport. So now they're mad at you because my rebuttal or my response will be said, I'm like, well, you didn't ask. And they might say, well, you should have known. How should I have known if you ain't tell me? And then I'll be called the devil. But you'll justify you finding loopholes in the Bible. But you're not just supposed to passively read the Bible. You're supposed to sit with God and have him reveal things to you. So for those instances where it doesn't explicitly say your righteous judgment, you should know the difference. So you see what I'm saying? So in that case, they said my righteous judgment should have just offered. But sometimes people are just oblivious. And I had those moments. And, you know, maybe I went too deep. I don't know. It's been a good episode so far. All right, let's kind of start winding things down. Let's get into the weekly sabbatical. All right, so from an article titled, what does the Bible say about the spirit of offense being offended? So before I read this, the Bible actually speaks on being offended and how you shouldn't live a lifestyle of being offended. And like I said, it's a human response. Like sometimes somebody do something to make you mad, cut you off when you drive, and like, of course, you're going to instantly get irritated, but you can't live with it. So it says that in this article, the spirit of offense is mentioned several times in the Bible, particularly in the New Testament. According to scripture, the spirit of offense is a negative influence that causes people to be easily offended, resentful, and bitter. The spirit can divide and disrupt communities and relationships, and it often stems from a lack of humility, forgiveness, and love. Then it says in Matthew 18:21-22, it says, then Peter came to Jesus and asked, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother or sister who sins against me? Up to 7 times. It says, Jesus answered, I tell you not 7 times, but 77 times. And then Proverbs 19:11 says, a person's wisdom yields patience. It is one's glory to overlook an offense. So even if I think we should get to the point where even if we are offended, we should, or even if the person was trying to offend us, we should get to the point where we shouldn't even let it bother us, because it's going to piss them off more when you don't engage. Many years ago, I had a situation with a friend, and it was like a beef I had going on. And a mutual friend would be like, "Oh, I saw your friend today." I'm like, "Who?" And so they named the person. I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I just go about it like ain't nothing happened, because the person did it via text message one time, and I said, "Oh, okay, that's what's up." Then they did it in person, and I said, "Oh, okay," and I just said it like regular, because I knew you wanted a reaction and you were trying to stir up something. And when you say stuff like that to people, they be like, "Oh, shut up, you know what you was doing." But I didn't take the bait. So if somebody needs to hear that, don't take the bait. But before I get into the strategies, I think with the offended thing, again, is rooted in ego. And you need to get to the understanding that people have different impressions of you, some for better, some for worse. But you have to be so confident in who you are and your identity, it won't bother you. When you struggle with an identity crisis and an identity issues, and we always think identity issues is always like, you know, oh, I want to be a gangster and I'm not a gangster, but I'm trying to fake like I'm from the hood. Or when I know you have an identity crisis when you lie about where you're from. And I know you have an identity crisis when you fake an accent. I know it. I know it. Because why are you faking your accent? You don't talk like that. What you doing? And then my thing is, if you gonna lie, you got to make sure you tell everybody the same lie. And it be times the accents go on and off. Like if you're around these people, don't sound like you get around them. You got this strong Bahamian accent, Caribbean accent, because your people from there, but you from Detroit, and now all of a sudden you talking like you from the islands. Be yourself. You didn't get the accent. It's okay. And if you did have it, you lost it. So keep that in mind. All right. Now I don't want to hold y'all for too much longer. Been a great episode. So let's get into some research facts as always. And here are 7 strategies that young men can use to overcome being easily offended. And these draw from several reputable sources. So the first one, which I really like, develop emotional awareness. Psychology today emphasizes recognizing that reactions often stem from past experiences or insecurities rather than others' intentions. This self-awareness can help young men respond more calmly to perceived slights. So again, it's more of the time those past incidents and traumas. Now, again, I'm not letting the person off the hook. Sometimes people be knowing what they be. I will say sometimes people know what they be doing, and they do be trying to get a reaction. But if you don't take the bait, they can't. I've even had people in arguments. I'll be like, they'll keep going. I'll be like, okay, and they'll be like, oh, so you're mad? Yeah, see, you're mad. You're mad. I'm like, it's like they want a reaction so bad. I'm like, I'm not giving you that. Like I said, I didn't gave enough reactions for free. You cut me a check, I got you. But are we making some content? I got you. But just for free, nah. Second one, which we have to do, is practice forgiveness and letting go. Harold Herring suggests that learning to forgive and overlook minor offenses can help maintain inner peace and prevent unnecessary conflicts. Letting go of grudges fosters resilience and healthy relationships. Like I said, y'all, don't take the bait. Let them have it. Just let them have it. Just like, okay. Like, all right. The third one is cultivate empathy. A conscious rethink recommends understanding others' perspectives to reduce taking things personally. This empathy allows young men to see beyond their immediate feelings and engage more positively with others. Now, I brought this up on before. I'm bringing it up again with Clarence NYC. It was a video I watched at the gym some months ago, and the video is old. It was him and one of his best friends. They had fell out for like 6 years or something like that, and they got back cool, and they had a healthy, it sound like I'm in school, healthy discourse on camera about it. And like, so where do you feel like as a friend I didn't do this, and just explaining what led to what. And they got content out of it, which the views is good because people are messy. But I feel like it's kind of like my content is like messy with a twist, because you think you're coming for some mess and then you getting a message from it. And I feel like, so they put the mess and message, because that showed that real niggas, I'm gonna use the word, real niggas can have a conversation, and they can have a conversation on some cool stuff, and it ain't got to be no ego conversation. It's just like, where do you feel like you know what I'm saying? And it ain't got to be feminine or soft. Like they had a real conversation. So shout out to them for that. The fourth one is strengthen self-esteem. Self-care fundamentals highlights the importance of building strong self-esteem, which serves as a defense against feeling offended. Confidence in oneself makes external judgments less impactful. Learning who you are in Jesus, seek ye first the kingdom. Because once you fully are sold on who God called you to be, you'll be offended less and less. Trust. Learn to meditate and relax. Meant to be happy advises using meditation and deep breathing to manage emotional reactions. These practices can help young men stay calm and centered even in challenging situations. So in this case, I would suggest if you struggle with being offended, you struggle with identity, I suggest maybe looking up maybe 3 to 4 scriptures and decreeing them over yourself daily that align with, if say if you're offended by being, I don't know, whatever, right? Find the 3 to 4 that align with your situation. And, because people talk about positive affirmations. Well, I believe that decreeing the word of God is different, because how I learned from Tiffany Montgomery is that it's like medicine. So like you decree and declare something over yourself for 30 days, the same thing, whether it's in the morning and night, 3 different times a day, eventually you're going to start to believe it. If you especially put I am in front of it and you add it with a scripture, I just feel like that's like a recipe for a new person or a new mindset or a new perspective how you view yourself. The sixth one is focus on personal growth. It says psychology today suggests viewing criticism as an opportunity for growth rather than an attack. Reframing negative feedback can turn a potential offense into a learning moment, encouraging continuous improvement. Because it could also have a healthy conversation. Because say, for instance, this person does think you're a bad friend. Okay, you ask that person, you think I'm a bad friend. Maybe I'd be like, well, sometimes you can do this. And then you might say, oh, I didn't even realize that. Let me try to fix that. Or maybe your girl think you don't show enough emotion. But and then I think about Temptation, the one where she got the AIDS, and she in the movie kept trying to tell her husband about things, and she wanted to try different stuff, and he was just real settled in. And not saying that what she did was right, but it made sense as to why she was easy, why another man could come in and take your woman, because you wasn't on your stuff. And keep that in mind. The seventh one is lower expectations of others. Life Hack advises lowering expectations to avoid disappointment. By accepting that others may not always meet their standards, young men can reduce the frequency of feeling offended and maintain better emotional control. So, y'all be expecting too much from people. I said that before, and people got offended by that statement. Go figure, right? Y'all be wanting too much. And then what they'll do is they'll recognize they want the person, they won't say they want too much. They'll be like, people just can't do, people just can't do all of what you can do. And it's like, that's still shade. Just say, I want too much. You do too much because you're a people pleaser. And some of these people that you feel like you're mad that people aren't people pleasers, and you're offended by the fact that, or you feel a way that they don't care what people think about them, but you do, because they're not a people pleaser. And that's a great segue for next week. But before we get into that, let me give the final, which is actually aligns with the lower expectations of others. And like I said, this was the final point, which is a bonus, but do a survey. Go around, ask people, do y'all think I do this? Do you think I'm a liar? Like, ask people you can trust, like, am I known to be this? And then they'll be like, get people that's gonna tell you the truth. And they'll be like, well, sometimes, or like, nah, I don't see that. But some people just be talking. And like I said before, with me, if somebody else calling you a liar, it's because they be lying. Somebody need to hear that. Question and challenge for the week. So who are you letting get under your skin, and why? And is it worth it? Something to think about, something to keep in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, y'all, we're getting good with this again. Solo episodes. Like I said, I can't do this all the time here. And it's not meant to do all the time on the live stream. But I'll tell you this. You're going to see more of me solo sooner than you realize. Like I said, it won't be on the podcast and it won't be on the live stream. You're not going to figure out what I'm implying, but something coming. That's all I'm going to say. All right, y'all. So it has been a great episode. Thank y'all again for tuning in. Please continue to like, rate, subscribe, send it to people. Have conversations with your friends, your family about these things we discuss on here, because I be discussing some real stuff. And I need y'all to repost my stuff. So, as always, PSA signing out. Always remember, keep your head up like your neck hurt. Remember who you are. Make your mind up. Don't let it make you. And always remember, I love us for real.